to use drugs. My life changed because someone was there to listen.
1 in 7 Americans will struggle with addiction during their lifetime. Want to know how you can help? Go to heretolisten.com for tips and tools to help turn addiction around. A public service announcement brought to you by the Ad Council.
Authorities in Boston are setting the record straight surrounding a double murder over the weekend. Investigators say the suspect did not fire on police before officers shot him. They also say there's no indication the accused killer knew his victims. At his arraignment from his hospital bed, he pleaded not guilty to murder.
30-year-old Bampa Texera of Chelsea did not even open his eyes during that arraignment at Tufts New England Medical Center, just blocks from the horrific scene where his alleged victims were discovered. Richard Field, 49, a doctor at North Shore Pain Management, and Lena Bolanos, 38, a pediatric anesthesiologist at Massachusetts Eye and Ear, had been bound and had suffered obvious trauma. They were dead at the scene.
Fox's Molly Line in Boston. An accident on Oregon's tallest mountain has left a Seattle man dead. Authorities say the man fell 600 feet after losing his footing near the icy summit. Political differences and divorce court. There's apparently a link.
A Virginia-based polling firm wanting to gauge the impact of current events on couples finds that among Americans married or in a relationship, nearly 1/4 surveyed say they've disagreed or argued about politics more than ever since President Trump was elected, even surpassing the amount of fights over money issues. And 1 in 10 couples ended a relationship over politics, including 22% of millennials. The survey by Wakefield Research also finds more than 1 in 5 Americans know a couple whose relationship has been negatively impacted by the election. New York-based divorce attorney Lois Brenner telling Fox Business in her 35 years of matrimonial practice, she's never seen so many couples split over a political disagreement. Lisa Brady, Fox News.
Richard Simmons has a beef with the National Enquirer. He's filed a libel lawsuit against the tabloid and its parent company over stories that claim he's living as a transgender woman. Simmons is seeking damages and an apology. Pam Huso, Fox News Radio.
Fox News Talk presents Political Pop.
Sounds good. Forget. I'm not sure it could.
A country megagroup just a few years ago, the Dixie Chicks became a lightning rod after comments made at a London concert just days before the U.S. invaded Iraq in 2003. Lead singer Natalie Maines said that they were ashamed that the president was from Texas. But the last laugh might have been with the Chicks not ready to make nice. Not only did it sell millions without country radio support, but it won 5 Grammys in 2006, all without them backing down from their anti-war comments.
Music with a meaning
that made a difference.
From Fox News Talk. Your talk, your voice, your show. This is Fox News Talk. Listen, learn, and be a part of the conversation at 877-367-2526.
I was driving my car, and I said I had to call because I started to laugh and agree with you wholeheartedly.
With the health insurance issue, we just keep going back to drinking out of the same poisoned well.
This is a classic bait and switch situation.
Speak your mind. Call in live. This is your show on right now. This is Fox News Talk.
Fox News Talk, Tom Shalhoub with Andy Levy. And who else is here, Andy?
I believe is that Dave Smith?
Dave Smith.
Dave Smith.
Once again in the studio. Dave, thanks for coming here.
Thanks for having me. Good to be back.
You're like a radio professional because you got your own show.
It's a lot kinder than saying a failed comedian, so I appreciate that.
Well, no, people, we used to make those kind of jokes on the show all the time, We would make a reference to you being, riding the rails like a hobo, things like that. But you're really, you never stop. You're always doing, podcasts. And, the world of podcasts.
Also, back then, we were big-time TV people, so
now you're down home.
Exactly.
You're like, hey, we're all in this together now.
Yeah. You're like, what difference does it make?
Well, I'll tell you, man, the podcast thing for me, like, at this point, I'd really be struggling if I was just making my stand-up money. The podcast, I pay all my bills off podcasting, which is so weird.
Yeah, that's great.
It's great. It's a strange, brave new world.
But it's like you're working your butt off doing it.
Yeah, a lot of work.
A lot of work.
But it's fun.
Yeah.
And it's fun, like, it really is an amazing thing that, like, historically, like, someone has to give you a platform.
Right.
You know, you can't just, like, have it. And now everyone just starts it
They
themselves.
just start it. It's quite amazing. Well, we were talking about so many things, mostly Russian stuff on today's show. People had all sorts of opinions about Russia. Some of them pretty fantastical, right, Andy?
Yeah, there was some fun callers.
And we were, in the last hour with Evan, we were talking a lot about Condoleezza Rice, and she had a lot to say about various things in the Trump administration. But I want to play another clip here. It is like, Evan thought she was really covering, that she was avoiding the issue. But if she was, she's pretty good at it, because she was, being quizzed about the Trump administration, and she was, in so many words, she was saying that, hey, it's tough. It's a tough job.
Yeah.
I mean, let's play clip 6.
Well, it has been louder than any in my experience. And maybe it's partly the fact that it was an unusual election of someone who had not been in office. It came out of a very important moment in our history. Someone has called it, a friend of mine, the Do You Hear Me Now election. People who felt that they were not being served by their institutions. And so perhaps it exposed some of the divisions in our country. And, we all talk about divisions, but let's remember, and I hope what we'll get to, is that America is an idea. It is not nationality, religion, ethnicity. It's an idea. And that idea is you can come from humble circumstances and you can do great things because the Founding Fathers promised you life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Like she said, it's just an idea, not like nationality or religion. Just an idea, Not like those tangible, real things.
Well, it's true that whenever anyone starts talking about our grand national experiment or the United States as an idea, to me, it seems like they're filling airtime. Do you get that sense?
Yes, and it's so like lacking any real history. Like America was like an idea. It's like, we were like the Articles of Confederation, then we tore that up. We were like, forget that idea. We basically had a coup. I mean, if you look at our whole country is a coup against the Articles of Confederation that you were not allowed to overthrow. Then we fought this huge civil war. It wasn't this great idea ever, really. But
didn't have to do that. I don't know if you heard Trump last week. We didn't have to do that. Civil War.
The Civil War thing. If only Andrew Jackson had it his way, he would never have fought that whole thing.
Well, look, the thing was, he made a pretty good point when he was, talking. Did you?
I do not think we should have fought the Civil War necessarily, but I don't think Andrew Jackson was to blame.
Yeah.
No, I think Ron Paul used to always say this, but every other advanced nation ended slavery without fighting a civil war. It's kind of, it's not like to our credit that we had 600,000 deaths over ending an institution that was going to end probably eventually anyway. I'm saying Lincoln enslaved a whole bunch of people to fight in the war. It's politically incorrect, but think about that. If you're going to end slavery and you have a military draft to send people in, you're basically enslaving a bunch of people to end slavery. But at least I knew it was Lincoln.
Andy thought we wrapped this up last week. I think when we left last week, Andy said, well, at least we're not going to relitigate the Civil War again. But what is this idea about Condoleezza Rice when she says, she's basically saying that it's discounting Trump as a political force, saying that, well, this was one of those elections where people were just fed up. I think that millions of people like Trump's ideas. I'm not going to say like, oh, this is all about attitude. It's all about political correctness, whatever. I mean, people, they do want, they do vote on the immigration issue, and they do believe that America has entered into bad agreements with other countries like NAFTA. So economically, that's bad. They do think globalization has gotten out of hand. So can we say that?
And you're leaving a big one off.
What's
the wars? But that's the third one. It's immigration, trade, and wars. And it's a really profound thing. Trump is so interesting that we forget about this. The fact that the Republican president sat there and said the last Republican president lied you into war. Like, not just that we shouldn't have fought that war, but actually said this guy lied.
Yeah, see, that was
and
my kind of guys didn't like that. We didn't like when he said that.
But that's
you
amazing.
Liked that, though, right?
I loved it because it's true. And, I have this thing for truth. And he said it in South Carolina, like where there's all these military bases. I mean, it was a really brave
and that's
kind of
why
thing.
he will never be president. as I said all year.
There is this weird disconnect. But no, I think you're right. I think it's that these were actual policy problems. And the truth is that, even when Condoleezza Rice said in that clip, she goes something along the lines of like, they don't believe that these institutions serve them anymore. It's like, well, I would take the word belief out. Like, no, they don't serve them. They're serving special interests and not the people. Yeah. So, and I do think the immigration was probably the number one out of all those issues, which I think people, otherism is a big factor. And if you went into Italy and told them, hey, in 50 years, the demographics are going to be mostly French people here, isn't that wonderful? I think most of them would be like, no, we want this to be Italy. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of that in America.
Well, I was just reading the other day, and I wish I could remember where it was, but it was just this absolutely horrible piece. It was basically...
I'm going to say Slate, Andy.
I don't think it was.
Based on the information, it's a good guess.
It's not a bad guess, but I don't think it was. It might have been, but I don't know. It was this whole thing about immigration, and it was saying that it was basically saying no, America is bad because it asks its immigrants to assimilate. I was like, as opposed to what country? Like this, I'm pro immigration, as I know you are, but this idea that the people immigrating aren't ever supposed to sort of give anything up. Like,
you're absolutely right, and I know you're someone who's like passionately defended the rights of refugees and immigrants and these things. Yeah. And so it's so interesting even from that perspective. But when the left talks about immigration, it's like there's a few facts that they just won't. Like, number one, we take in more than anybody. Right. And there's never that perspective is always lost. We take in way, way, way more than anybody. So if denying immigrants makes you a horrible racist, we're like the best at that by far. Right. But by double, I think, the next country. It's like 1 million to 500,000. It's like we take in more legal
immigrants.
Even
percentage-wise for countries like France?
No, not percentage-wise, but total immigrants we take in more. Yep. And so I'm just, and the other thing, as you were saying, is that they are coming from their country to here. So there's theoretically is something better about being here. Well, we can ask them to assimilate, of course.
Exactly. And, it's not like nobody is asking people to come over here. Well, most people aren't asking people to come over here and completely forget about their culture or anything like that. But this idea, because there used to be this idea that there's sort of this give and take. Right. Like immigrants would come here and they would enrich the culture from stuff that they brought along with them, but they also would be enriched by the other cultures that have sort of formed this melting pot, but now you can't even talk, if you talk about a melting pot, apparently that's racist or something like that. And I'm, as I have said a million times, I'm half a social justice warrior. I'm half an SJW. But this idea that the idea of the melting pot is somehow racist is just, it blows my mind. It's like, that is the greatest thing is people coming here and adding stuff to what we have, but also themselves adding to themselves from the stuff around them.
You know why they say it, though? They're anti-American.
Well, I do.
I think that the leftists who are against the melting pot don't like America, so they don't want other people melting into it. What they like is, what they say they love is the mosaic, They love, what's the word for all different fractured... It's
balkanization or something like that?
They want the groups speaking their own language and having their own little culture. Because
you're right.
And I think it's an electoral thing. Yeah, because if we have them staying in their own little community and they don't learn English and they, and they're being assisted by the government, then we can continue to get their votes.
I think you're right, and I even as you say it, I hear that that's so easy for someone on the left to dismiss, like, oh, that's just they hate America or something like that. But I gotta say, this whole election, I was really adamantly kind of fighting against what I saw as the bigotry on the alt-right, and really kind of being like, wow, that's really ugly. I don't want to see this rising up. I was very upset that libertarians kind of lost, like, the internet comments. Yeah. In 2012, you look at YouTube comments, it was all Ron Paul 2012 and end the Fed. And today it's all like Pepe and throw them out of helicopters and this stuff. And I was kind
helicopters.
Of... That's
not my style at all.
It's a Pinochet reference, I believe. But I would say, like, oh, this bigotry on the alt-right's horrible. But the more I was calling that out, you do have to come to terms where you're like, okay, but the anti-white bigotry on the left is like outrageous.
Don't say
man.
anti-white, that means you're racist.
But this is the truth. You're not allowed to talk about this, but it is so like, I mean, if any company goes, we're hiring less white people, they're applauded. I was listening to MSNBC the other day, and someone was saying, they're like, we just care about the rights of black people and gay LGBT people and women. And I was just like, can I save you some time and just say not white men? Like, can I just save you some time and say, like, screw cis white men? And there is, you can't ignore that. And I think it's not just anti-America. It's like this anti-white thing, that if there's a brown immigrant and you're a white guy, you're you should be just like, if you're even, look, I'm pro-immigration just like you are. I just don't think you're necessarily evil if you're anti-immigration. I'm against welfare, but I don't think you're evil if you're for it. You know?
I want to take a break. And then, or do you want to make a point before I go? No. I want to break, Andy, and then we're going to come back, and we're gonna unpack this.
All right.
Okay.
Excellent.
877-367-2526 with Dave Smith for the rest of the night.
The rest of our life.
Listen, learn, and be a part of the conversation at 877-367-2526. This is Fox News Talk. More next.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-759-0158 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-759-0158. Again, that's 800-759-0158.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
To get your free inventors information, call 1-800-359-7341. That's 1-800-359-7341. Again, 1-800-359-7341.
Okay, forest animals, today is a new day. Kids are coming to the forest, and it's up to us to make their visit a good one. Sparrow.
Yes?
Have you practiced the most popular bird songs for the year?
Of course.
Catchy. I like it. Okay, River.
Dude.
How's the temperature?
It's a refreshing 52 degrees, man. Perfect for a little riverside shoeless relaxation.
Ah, good. Owl, you here? Whoosh. Who's asking? I am. Look, you know the drill. Sleep during the day, scare the kids at night. Perfect. I love my job. Oak Tree?
What's up?
Still in the same place I left you last year. That's what I like. Consistency.
Well, it's not like I'm going anywhere for the next couple hundred years.
I know. I love it. Turtle. Turtle.
He's not here yet, man.
He's late every morning. You'd think he would have learned by now to leave the night before our meetings. Okay. Squirrel. Has anybody seen Mr. Squirrel?
The forest has been preparing just for you. Visit a forest near you today. To learn more about cool things to do in the forest, visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Fox on Faith with Lauren Green.
Despite not being front and center in the news, the fate of Christians in the Middle East at the hands of ISIS is still, well, horrible. Catholic priest Father Benedict Keeley has just returned from Iraq, where he surveyed the wrath of Islamic terrorists. And his report?
It's unfortunately very depressing. In fact, one of the nuns said to me, it's more hopeless now after some of the villages have been liberated because they've seen the destruction.
Father Keeley is the founder of Nazarene.org, which raises money for displaced and persecuted Christians. He says in Iraq, Iraq, Christian churches are burned out, crosses riddled with bullets, Christian homes destroyed and booby-trapped, and even Christian graves were dug up and the bodies beheaded or just tossed around.
I felt that a black cloud of almost demonic hatred had just swept through the Nineveh plain, and there's a great evil behind all of this, and we mustn't pretend there isn't.
He stresses that the majority of Muslims are peaceful and is calling on them to put an end to ISIS's reign of terror. For Fox on Faith, Lauren Green, Fox News.
Are you losing your hair? Fight back with Avacor, now with Boost, which gives you visibly thicker hair with the first application.
I'm 20 years old and I've been losing my hair for 3 years. I started using Avacor and my hair stopped falling out. It's working.
Well, I'm 72 years old, and I can tell you honestly, I have a fuller, healthier head of hair now than I did when I was 18 years old. Avacor really worked.
Whether you're 20, 72, or any age in between, Avacor works. And Avacor Boost will improve your hair's appearance the same day you receive your order. Call now and find out how you can get 3 months of Avacor free with your order. Call 1-800-727-6004. That's 1-800-727-6004. This is a limited time offer, so call right now. 1-800-727-6004. That's 1-800-727-6004.
Fox News Talk, Tom Shalhoub, Andy Levy, and Dave Smith is with us. Before the break, we were talking about, Dave, you were comparing the extremists online and the, I don't see these. What is this, all this alt-right race? I thought I thought it was a made-up thing until you just telling me here. Like, I don't see it. Who do I see? A bunch of people?
Are you out of your mind?
What is, what I see a frog here and there, and everyone says, "Oh, racism! What's going on?"
This is what people used to say though about the libertarians, like the Ron Paul people, like they only exist online, kind of. And I get what you're saying. Like there is some truth to that.
I don't see a lot of racism. I see a lot of people calling people racist.
I think there is. You can
besides
call it
that guy
alt-right.
Spencer. Okay, Spencer's a racist. I'll give you that, right? Because he's got the short haircut and he seems to like racism.
But mainly the haircut.
Well, that's a full investigation right there. Yes, well, no, I've had a few conversations with Richard Spencer before. He's an interesting guy. He certainly has an in-group preference, if you will.
He does. Well, he's like
that was the most polite way of calling someone a racist I've ever heard.
But like, I will say, and again, here my thing is just that I've kind of tried to reject the whole progressive mind state because after a while you realize, oh, they're just crazy. Like they, and I'm not exaggerating at all. Donald Trump could bomb the crap out of a third world country, and that won't get a fraction of the outrage out of the left as it would if he were to say make comments that are offensive to transgender people. Like that would be a way bigger offense than actually murdering people in a poor country. Like it's very. So I throw out their thing and I just go, look, the truth is, if any black guy said to us like, I love black people, I want to live in a black neighborhood, none of us would really go like, oh, you're an evil person for that.
Yeah.
And so I'm just kind of feeling like if a white person says that, I don't really feel the same way. I'm fine living in a multicultural world, but if they feel that way, it's like, as long as you're not hurting anyone else, go do your thing, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel that I mean, that's what I'm saying, Andy, is that I see that there's people out there, and I see this frog online or whatever, but I don't see it. I don't get with the frog.
I believe the frog died today, did he not?
I don't understand this
right?
green frog. It doesn't impress racism upon. I don't get it. I don't get it.
It's a weird, you know what I think a lot of it is that racism has really become the third rail. You know, it's like to the left, everyone's a racist, no matter what you do. So eventually, it's just if Mitt Romney, was on his hands and knees. Remember the binders full of women comment, and Mitt Romney was just literally like, "I'm not a sexist. I swear,
exactly.
I wanted to hire women. Bring me binders." And they're like, "Did you call us binders full of women?"
Yes.
So no matter what you say, you're a racist. So you might as well be like, well, we'll bring back the Holocaust.
Right.
Like,
well, that's what I'm saying. I don't see any of that kind of like Holocaust denial. Like Andy, for instance, in France, we have this extremist right-wing candidate, Marine.
Oh, don't tell me I DVR'd it.
But the thing is, I didn't see. What did she? I printed out today. The far right in France, what they stand for, and here was the thing. And this is not like a right-wing website. This is, this is what what do they call them? The National Front. This is what their policies are: hardline on immigration. They're against Islamic extremism. And one of the, I guess, the most shocking thing Marine Le Pen did was she made a link between immigration and militant Islamism. Okay, that was her thing that they said was bad, that she tried to relate the two, but it seems like there might be a little relation between the two. And then she's very strong on law and order, and she puts native French first. She wants people to speak French, and she wants that to be, enshrined in. It doesn't seem that crazy to me. I mean, her father said, I think Daddy Le Pen had some kind of anti-Semitic things to say at one point or another,
one
right?
or two, yeah.
But she didn't. The thing is, the modern, what they call the alt-right, I just don't see the real racism.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people that are being called racist.
Well, my grandfather, who was a Holocaust survivor and a Jew, he would have said that all the French are anti-Semites. And this was his take always, and this is why they didn't stand up to the Nazis. I'm not saying this is true. This is just his perspective. But I will say, I think, if you're going to examine anti-Semitism on the right, then you might as well look at it at the left, too. And I think there's a lot of anti-Semitism in France on the left. There's certainly a very pro-Palestinian feeling and a not super friendly toward Jews. Yes. So I don't know. I don't really think. I think anti-Semitism in Europe is, existed for a long time and probably isn't going anywhere.
And yet you have the people. I mean, like what Dave was saying, basically, Andy, was that he sees, these people who call themselves the resistance. They really are out there doing things. They really are, smashing windows at Starbucks. They really are doing things. But I don't see the right who in the right is doing things besides like Gavin McInnes. I mean,
and he's not smashing windows.
No, that's the thing. Is there people more extreme than Gavin that I'm not hearing about?
Yeah, they call people like Richard Spencer. They call Gavin alt-light.
Oh, they do.
This is their term for him because they see him as kind of like, not really willing to. Because Gavin will say like, I'm a Western chauvinist, but he's not like a white chauvinist, so it's not quite enough for them. I do think bigger than those people, like the extremists out there, I think there's a thing for younger people who are on the right where they did not grow up in this world of like anything other than them being the bad guys, kind of. And they didn't, even for people like myself, like the narrative on the left is kind of like, well, society tells you that a woman's place is in the kitchen, and then you have to grow up and unlearn that. My life was like, society told me there's no such thing as gender, and then I had to grow up and kind of unlearn that. And I think that's what's happening on the alt-right.
He was just mad he had to grow up at all, right? Okay. We got to take a break. We'll be back with Dave Smith, 877-367-2526.
The entire world watched. They watched each step down the rungs of that small ladder, one after another, and waited with great anticipation for that last step.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
At that moment, humanity saw the impossible become the possible. And today, the sky is not the limit. Achievement. Pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life at values.com.
The best in Fox News Talk and the latest from Fox News Radio. This is the place to be. Fox News Talk. Fox News Talk.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lisa Lacera.
The Russians did it. It was the Russians who tried to interfere in our election. Every member of the committee agrees it was the Russians.
South Carolina Republican Senator Lindsey Graham after a day of Capitol Hill hearings where former acting Attorney General Sally Yates and former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper both warned lawmakers Russia will try again to interfere in U.S. elections. No bond set for a suspect in the brutal killing of two Boston doctors after a court appearance today.
The suspect, 30-year-old Bampham Texera of Chelsea, did not even open his eyes during that arraignment at Tufts New England Medical Center, just blocks from the horrific scene where his alleged victims were discovered. Richard Field, 49, a doctor at North Shore Pain Management, and Lena Bolanos, 38, a pediatric anesthesiologist at Massachusetts Eye and Ear.
Fox's Molly Line in Boston, the suspect wounded in a shootout with police but is expected to survive. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Never give in. Never give in. Never, never, never. In nothing, great or small, large or petty, never give in except the convictions of honor and good sense.
Winston Churchill's immortal words stirred an entire country in the face of certain defeat. Today, these words give each of us the courage to reach for our own victories.
Never give in. Never give in. Never, never, never.
Commitment. Pass it on. From the Foundation for a Better Life at values.com.
Now, from the historical audio archives of Fox News Talk.
American playwright Tennessee Williams, who grew up in the Deep South, died in 1983.
He won the Pulitzer Prize for drama for A Streetcar Named Desire in 1948 and Cat on a Hot Tin Roof in 1955. Here, Tennessee Williams explains where he gets the inspiration for his character development.
I have always been more interested in my own kind of people, you know, people that have problems, people that have to fight for their reason. You know, the people that, to whom, you know, the impact of life and experience from day to day, night to night is difficult, and people who come close to cracking and all that, that's my world. Those are my people, and I must write about the people I know.
Stay tuned to hear more history as it unfolds before your ears. It's the audio archives of Fox News Talk. From Fox News Talk, here's another sound memory.
HR Puff and Steph, push your bed when things get rough. HR Puff and Steph, can't do a little cause you can't do enough.
HR Puff and Stuff was a kid's show from the studios of Sid and Marty Krofft from 1969 to 1974. The show was a live-action series with music following the adventures of a boy named Jimmy. The theme, composed by Leslie Zaris, was also credited to pop star Paul Simon, since the music was quite similar to the 59th Street Bridge song recorded by Simon and Garfunkel.
HR Puff and Steph, push your bed when things get rough. HR Puff and Steph, can't do a little cause you can't do enough. HR Puff and Steph, ease your bed when things get rough. HR Puff and Steph, can't do a little cause you can't do enough.
Stay tuned to hear more sound memories on Fox News Talk.
Confessions of a Potentially Perfect Parent, brought to you by AdoptUsKids.org.
I might look like an adult, like a person who could possibly be a parent, but I have no idea how to talk like one. And everyone knows that if you want to be a parent, you have to sound good when you say things like, "Don't make me turn this car around," or "because I said so," or "Don't make me come back there." I don't even really know what those things mean, but I know that I actually believed my parents when they said them to me. How did they manage to sound so convincing? Here we go. "Don't make me come back there." Ugh, no, that's not tough enough at all. Kids can sense weakness. "Don't make me come back there." Ooh, yeah, that's better. In fact, that kind of sounded like my dad. Weird.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to listen to you practice your dad voice. Call 1-888-200-4005 or visit AdoptUsKids.org for more information. This message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
Fox News Talk, Tom Shalhoub and Andy Levy and Dave Smith. Look, we wrapped up the Russia situation. I think we solved all the problems with the Trump administration. And I think we should move on to health care. You think we can wrap up that health care before the end of our show?
Solve it once and for all.
Andy, well, it's funny, Andy. I thought you were going to be anti, foreign policy today. But you didn't want the domestic stuff. You were like, I'm not interested in the healthcare thing. Yeah. I think this is politically very interesting because and I want to get Dave's take on this. Nothing happened in healthcare. What did we do? We tinkered, right? And we're going to tinker a little more. We're going to come out of this healthcare thing with a bill that is essentially not far off from, it'll be Obamacare, okay? Yes. With little tinkerings here and there, okay? And the left, the resistance, is acting like people are being murdered. I mean, it's not just fringe people. It's not just the Alex Joneses of the left-wing talk radio. It's mainstream Democrats are accusing Republicans of murder openly on the Senate floor.
But it's a really interesting thing. It's like once you this is why repealing an entitlement program is so hard. Like once you get the mentality of healthcare as a right, then it's like all these Democrats can just sell. They're taking your rights away from you. I mean, how obvious is that? They're taking your rights, and you don't want to have that. And so, no, you're right. No matter what, I don't think this bill's going to get through the Senate at all. But no matter what, we're going to be stuck with Obamacare or something very similar to Obamacare. And no one on the right seems to just be willing to make what is the obvious argument, which is that
what is it?
Healthcare should be left to the free market. Period.
Okay.
Like, period. If we left healthcare to the free market, and I believe this with all of my heart and soul, in 10 years, poor people would have better health care than rich people have today. In the same sense, look at anything that we leave to the market, okay? Whether it's flat screen TVs or cell phones or just the things in medical care, like LASIK eye surgery and boob jobs and all elective surgery, basically, that's not covered by government insurance, not covered by much insurance at all. They have the same free market forces. The quality goes way up. The price goes way down. It's all about technology. That's what healthcare is about.
Yeah.
You can get 1950s healthcare for pennies, you know, but no one wants it.
Right.
Because we want. So to me, it's like someone's got to stand up and make that argument. It's just a lot more popular to do what Trump's doing.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think that time has passed. I think you're absolutely right. I think, again, once you know, people keep saying healthcare is a right. Well, okay, it's not a right. You can't have a right that someone else has to provide you.
Of course,
I mean, that's just whatever. But let's throw out the semantic argument aside. It is now an entitlement. It is the same thing. It is Social Security. It is whatever. I honestly think we are going to have to. All this stuff is just, and again, there are maybe differences between Obamacare and whatever bill, if any, gets through the Senate. I tend to agree with you. I'm not sure that any is. It's all tinkering around the edges. I honestly think we are heading in a direction now where we are going to end up with single payer.
Yeah,
whether it's 10 years from now, whether
Krauthammer.
it's 20 years from now.
Krauthammer said it.
Did he?
Yeah,
he
I think
said
he was
6
right
years.
about this.
He says I give it 6 years.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I just don't see any way around it. And honestly, I think that might be better than this garbage going on now, which is like it's. I don't even know what it is, because it's like it helps some people, it hurts other people. We'll change this, we'll change that. I almost feel like screw it. If you're going to do it big.
Well, I'm not sure I completely disagree with you. Like, I get the point you're making, and there is a weird thing where, like, even when Trump's proposing this bill, and of course they're all pretending to know what's in the bill. It's like these 2,000-page bills that were written by lobbyists. None of them have ever read it, and it's going to be changed. So there's all. But yeah, you're like, if we kept everything the same, but we just take away coverage from a few thousand people, like, is that really any better?
Right.
That you're still not going to have any of these free market forces. You're still not going to, but just people will lose coverage. That being said, if you compare America to these other, like, more socialized European countries, or, you know, lefties love to say every advanced nation except us has that. It's like, you're right. And a lot of them have better systems than us overall. None of them have more innovation than us.
Absolutely.
And you're going to end up killing that innovation if you make us a single payer. And I think that will do more to not just screw over us, but everyone. When the medical innovation is the center of medicine. That's why things get better. And so I really do fear undermining that. But as you said, no matter what we do, it's very undermined. Like, market forces aren't going to be allowed to work anyway.
And I almost feel like it's going to have to be like people on the right, like, I mean, we've talked about this before, this universal basic income idea, which you're now seeing people who are non-liberals, non-lefties, people like Elon Musk, whatever, like all these tech libertarian-ish kind of people saying, look, this is probably where we're headed, you know, because of increased automation and robotics and all of this. There's just not going to be enough jobs in this future that they envision where everything is automated.
Crazy, though.
But they may be right, and we may
that we're headed there.
Yeah. And that a universal basic income, as sort of, you know, awful as that thought is to the very core of conservatism and libertarianism, that we might have to be seriously thinking about it. And I sort of feel the same way with single payer, in the sense that I think voices on the right should start sort of, I'm not saying give up the battle, even though I think the battle is lost, but should start preparing for it and trying to make it as best it can be.
You know, I just think the battle, I think somebody's got to be pointing out what the right answer is. And everybody else is going to be compromising.
Let me play this clip from Paul Ryan, because he's starting to make arguments. I want to see if you're at all satisfied with what the little steps he's taking here. This is from him on This Week yesterday, clip 15.
If they're not mandated to buy something that's unaffordable, they're not going to do it. So under this bill, everybody's going to get a refundable tax credit to buy a plan of their choosing. What Obamacare tried to do is it said, we're going to have young, healthy people subsidize older, sicker people. That didn't happen. Those young, healthy people just said, I'm not paying for this unaffordable insurance. I'll pay the penalty. And that's one of the biggest reasons why Obamacare is collapsing and insurers are losing money and pulling out of the marketplace.
kind of almost defending free market principles there, right?
Yeah, no, Paul Ryan kind of almost defends free market principles sometimes. He'll do that, and then he's all. But the problem is that if you're Paul Ryan and you claim to defend any free market principles, you have to look at the fact that you've been a very, very influential member of the House of Representatives, as they have spent more money than any government in the history of man has ever spent. He's an absolute failure by his own stated goals. So yes, he's breaking down what's wrong with Obamacare, but there's going to be a lot wrong with this bill as well.
Right, and I would also say exactly what's wrong with Obamacare is and what Paul Ryan said. Absolutely, and that was obvious to a lot of people. Of course, when you're young and healthy, you think to yourself, I don't need the expense of health insurance.
Yes.
I mean, not everybody, but a lot of...
Yes, and it's fairly common sense that it doesn't help anyone to mandate you buy something.
Right.
Obama said this himself. He said it's like mandating homeless people buy homes.
Right, exactly.
It doesn't solve the problem.
Right,
Yeah.
and again, that's why it's not that I'm pushing this single-payer idea, but that's my point, is that if you think the problem is... If the problem is not everybody has access to health care, then the only answer to me is some kind of single-payer system. And if we have established, as a society, if we decide, yes, everybody needs to have access to health care, then I don't see any way around this other than a single payer, because any other way is going to run into the same exact problems that Obamacare ran into.
Okay, but just theoretically, you do agree with me that if we left it to the free market, we would have a far better system.
But I think I think those days are gone.
Okay, well, here's my own, and this is the only thing I would disagree. This is Gene Epstein gave me this. Gene, he's a great economist.
He's great. I love Gene Epstein.
Love him. Jim Epstein from Reason Magazine, his father. He's in the building. He's an editor of Barron's Magazine.
Oh, I didn't really know him. I was kind of joking, but
he did a good job. He's a very good libertarian economist, but he said this, and he was like, this is the case for radicalism, okay? He said if you were sitting around in 1845 and you had said, slavery in the West is going to be abolished within the next 20, 25 years, there won't be slavery in the West, you would have seemed like a madman. Literally a madman. This has been an institution that has been with us for thousands and thousands of years.
John Brown, right?
But there's the idea, but it did go away.
Right.
And likewise, if you had been sitting around in what I think it was like 1983 or something like that, he says George Will was writing that Reagan had guaranteed the Soviets would last for another 100 years because he was going soft on them. And people forget that neocons were hard on Reagan at the time when he was going soft on what they saw soft on the Soviet Union. But of course that did collapse. So it's like, no, I get what you're saying, Eddie. It looks very, very bad right now. It really does. It looks very bad. But I just kind of feel like you keep fighting for freedom.
Right.
You keep pointing out what's right. And it's probably a futile effort, but hey, let's have some fun.
No, I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying I think conservatives and libertarians should start making backup plans.
Yeah,
you're
probably right
basically
about
what
that.
I'm saying. And the thing is, I think it's mainly because, look, I think we as a society, everybody talks about, we don't want other people getting free stuff, but everybody wants free stuff for themselves.
Yeah.
And I think at that point, I think a lot of Trump supporters, they it's the prime example of, I don't want the immigrants coming over here, whatever, but they want their entitlements.
That's right.
It's not like they're willing to give them up. So I think we've maybe passed the tipping point where we can go back.
Well, you saw what I was saying about the entitlement thing and rolling it back. I remember thinking about this. Remember when Greece was having not that it's solved, but when they were having those huge riots over there over they were the anti. What's it called? What's the term I'm looking for? What's it called?
Austerity.
Austerity. Yeah, the anti-austerity riots. Yeah. And you're like, I mean, guys, like nobody's for austerity, but you borrow a whole bunch of money you don't have, you got to stop borrowing. But you notice it doesn't matter what the logic is. Once people get accustomed to having a check coming in or having something, they will riot if they don't get it.
And I was reading today, someone was saying, well, of course, because the answer is, it's obvious. The answer when an economy like that is in trouble, the answer is not austerity. The answer is to flood it with more money. And I'm like, but that's what got them into trouble in the first place.
For the record, I'm not pro-austerity. I advocate defaulting on the debt.
No.
That's my take. Like, don't pay it.
But I'm saying
still,
there are these arguments out there like, no, you don't do austerity. You have to give them more money. It's
right.
like, but giving them the money in the first place led to the problem, how is the solution giving them more money? But that always is the solution these days. Anytime a social program doesn't work, it's because it was underfunded. It's never because it's a bad idea to just throw money at a problem.
And you can point out that it's overfunded to the max. I mean, people will be like, America just doesn't invest enough in education.
Exactly, yeah.
And you point out we invest an insane amount in education, but it doesn't matter. No, you're right about that, but I also do think, and maybe this is like my influence of Austrian economics, I don't think this thing is sustainable. So I think if you look at Europe right now too, none of this is sustainable. You look at these levels of debt.
Nothing's sustainable.
But I think we're going to have to learn that the hard way. Is
I think you're
basically
right.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think you're right.
When we get this nationalized health care, this single payer, it's going to be like the public school system. The rich people are going to create their private schools of medicine, and it's a two-tiered system anyway.
But thank God the rich people, the only silver lining in the public school system is that some people can opt out and get into a better, I mean, I know that the liberal mindset is like, oh, well, you're doing good, you must be robbing that from me. But truthfully, thank God those rich people can opt out, or everyone would be in the crappy school.
Wow. Okay, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back. Well, I don't know if we solved healthcare, but I think we're pretty close to it, and we do have one more segment. I think we may be able to wrap things up.
We're circling it.
Yeah. Hey, if anybody wants to call in our last little segment, 877-367-2526. Tom and Andy and Dave Smith. We'll be back.
This is Fox News Talk, powered by the most trusted name in news, Fox News. More next.
Are you worried about your mom or dad living alone in their house? Hi, I'm Joan London. Listen, I know how difficult it is to find senior care for someone you love. That's why I recommend a free service called A Place for Mom. They are the nation's largest senior living referral service. Call A Place for Mom today.
To receive free information on senior living communities in your area, call A Place for Mom at 1-800-582-7585.
A Place for Mom offers free one-on-one advice from local advisors and a personalized list of senior living communities you can visit. If you have questions about senior care for your mom or dad, there's a place for answers, A Place for Mom.
Call A Place for Mom in the next 10 minutes to get your free ebook on financing senior care as well as free information on senior living communities in your area. Call 1-800-582-7585. That's 1-800-582-7585.
Fox News Radio's fastest growing podcast is now on Fox News Talk. It's Perino and Steyerwalt. I'll tell you what.
I'm in.
Okay.
Bring it.
Dana Perino, co-host of The Fox, and Fox News political editor Chris Steyerwalt dissect the ins and outs of national politics like no one else can.
You're going to bring facts. Can you please bring backup?
I will bring backup.
Perino and Steyerwalt. I'll tell you what. Listen every Sunday at 8 a.m. Eastern on FoxNewsRadio.com or download the Fox News Radio app today.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson Adam Pulaski of the Pulaski Law Firm with principal office in Houston, Texas is the attorney responsible for the content of this ad. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states.
Attention Xarelto users. If you or a loved one took Xarelto and suffered a serious bleeding event, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Xarelto is a popular prescription blood thinner used to prevent blood clots and protect patients from strokes. These serious bleeding events have led to numerous cases of hospitalization and even death. Phone lines are open 24/7. Call 800-961-5842. That's 800-961-5842.
Fox News Talk presents
Political Pop.
In 1970, as the Vietnam War roared on, Motown's The Temptations recorded a lyrically strong political song over a driving drum and bass track.
Pills are at an all-time high. Young folks walking around with their heads in the sky. Cities aflame in the summertime.
The lyrics read like a list of the major issues of 1970. Vietnam, segregation, white flight, drug abuse, and crooked politicians.
Evolution, revolution, gun control the sound of soul. Shooting rockets to the moon, kids growing up too soon. Politicians say more taxes will solve everything.
After each list, the Temps refer to not knowing where the world's heading, and ends with Melvin Franklin's ominous bass vocal.
And the band played on. Music with a meaning
that made a difference.
From Fox News Talk. If
If you're a business owner, whether you own a small shop or a huge corporation, when it comes to building a new facility, the process can seem overwhelming. If you're concerned with getting the building you need on a limited budget, call Anthem Steel for a pre-engineered steel building. Anthem has the high-quality solution for almost any size you need. Look around. You'll see more businesses, churches, schools are using steel buildings to save time and money. Right now, you can buy a 60 by 200-foot building for under $90,000 from Anthem Steel. Buy a 40 by 60 for under $20,000. Call toll-free 866-83-BUILD. That's right, a 60 by 200-foot building for under $90,000. A 40 by 60 for under $20,000. Anthem makes it easy to get the building you need at the right price. And all you need is a small deposit to get started. For a church or gymnasium, call 866-83-BUILD. For manufacturing or warehousing, that's 866-83-BUILD. If you need to build, call Anthem Steel today.
Fox News Talk, Tom Shalhoub, Andy Levy, and Dave Smith. Dave Smith, we uncork a lot of issues on this show, don't we?
Yeah, bro.
It's amazing. But Andy, you basically you're saying basically you're making the case for nationalized health care just because you're fed up. You're sick.
Yes,
you're
exactly.
sick of thinking about
Exactly.
it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What about
your stupid health
no,
care.
why does it have to be either or though? Why do we got to go, Dave, with the full free market or? What about...
Because I can't handle this every time there's a new administration, so then we have to have another, Trump care, then next time it'll be Chelsea Clinton care.
Right.
And then it'll be, whatever. And it's just, stop it.
We got Medicaid, right? We got Medicare.
Right.
So we got the poor people and the old people. Isn't that all you really need? Because you could basically say, look, we're going to ensure Medicare and Medicaid be available to everyone, okay, that needs it, because it's needs-based. And then everyone in the middle, we go full free market. So it's health savings accounts. I mean, all the stuff Republicans talk about, it's doable. But I think the idea is if you're poor, you get the poor people's thing. If you're old, you get the old people's thing. And everybody else, you go free market. What's the matter with that? That seems to me like I'm all of a sudden like Mr. Centrist.
Well, look,
here.
if you want to have... Well, the problem to me with that is that the pockets of socialism that you're talking about are horrific. I mean, you look at the VA. We give the people who are the most, the most in need and probably the most... I mean, if you're talking about the VA, who has a better right to have it... who has a... It's not right, I shouldn't say. Who has a better case that their health care should be covered by the government than somebody who was, put into harm's way by the government. And we've got 22 soldier suicides a day. We've got, these cocktails of drugs that they put them on. It's like horrific. So to me, it's like, no, for the very reason that you think those people are in need is why I'd want a market-based solution.
Right. Have I told my VA horror story on the radio show?
You didn't tell the horror story. You said you made a case that look, there are guys that that they like the VA. They like going down there. They don't want because I said
I didn't say that. One of the guests said that. Although that is true.
My solution, my VA thing is let them go to Beth Israel and send us the bill. If we're the government, we always say to the troops, we care about the troops, we're going to reform the VA. But we don't reform the VA, or it takes 20 years, or it's like, how about this? How about just step up to the plate and say, no, go to Cornell Medical Center, and then we'll pay for it.
Yeah.
Because we're the government and you were in the military.
It's amazing to me how those, the Lindsey Grahams and John McCains who seem to want every war. How is this not their number one issue? Yeah, there's a lot of things like this though where I always say and I'll say a lot of people on Fox News, who all claim that everyone here is the pro-troops, we're for the troops.
Yeah.
We're not those other guys. Well, Ron Paul in both of his campaigns got more money from active duty military members than every other Republican combined. This was true in 2008 and again in 2012. And no one seems to bat an eye at that.
No one
that doesn't send a message to you of where the troops are, that they would support the most anti-war candidate who's run. And by the way, Donald Trump got a lot of support from troops. The same type of thing, because he's saying, I'm not going to get you involved in these wars. Yeah. So that would be my number one best way to take care of the troops' health care is not get. But yeah, I do tend to agree with you. At this point, and I support no government spending, I would support troops. If you were bribed and duped into going into one of these unnecessary wars, yes, go get whatever medical care you want, and we should pick up the bill. But I think charity would do a better job of that.
Well, Andy, what's your VA story?
Oh, I did. Yeah. I mean, I have a bunch of VA horror stories.
Because you used the.
I did, yeah. But the worst was I had all these issues with my wrist, and I went to the VA, and they took X-rays. They didn't really see anything, and they said, all right, we're going to send you to a rheumatologist, I guess. I was like, okay, I thought I needed an orthopedist, but whatever. So they sent me to a rheumatologist, and sure enough, the rheumatologist decides I have rheumatoid arthritis and puts me on whatever the hardcore version of Aleve is, which even though I
think it's Aleve hardcore.
Yeah, naproxen, but it's like extra double strength or whatever. So that rips my stomach to shreds, but that's whatever. But in the meantime, my wrist isn't getting better, and I know something's wrong. I think I did tell the story, in which case I apologize to the listeners. I kept saying, look, can I get an MRI? Can you just do it? I know there's something wrong. I kept saying, I've had 2 surgeries in my life. I had elbow surgery and shoulder surgery. Both times I knew there was something wrong. And I'm not the kind of person who says, owie, you get me to surgery. I can tell when something's wrong, and I have the same feeling with my wrist. They say, no, you don't. An MRI is not going to show anything. You don't need. So this is after, I don't know, it was 6 months to a year of this. I went. Luckily they had like a person you could go talk to to complain, and I went through the whole thing, and finally, and the doctor was really pissed. He's like, all right, we'll send you for an MRI. It's not going to show anything. Sure enough, I had torn cartilage, and I needed surgery, which I did not get done at the VA.
Done. And Andy's going to continue that story tomorrow on Fox News Talk. No, that's it. Fox News Talk. We'll be back tomorrow night, guys. Join us.
The Dean's List with Janice Dean.
Good Samaritans who risked their lives to save others after deadly storms tore through Canton, Illinois make the Dean's List. Corey Prox was driving along Highway 64 when he found himself in the middle of a life-and-death water rescue. A black SUV had hydroplaned off the roadway and landed on its roof in a drainage ditch. 2 people were stuck in the front seat, but able to breathe. Their 2 small children trapped in the back seat underwater. The Good Samaritans seen in dramatic cell phone video helped 3 men pry open the rear driver's side door. The release of pressure allowed the other men to open the rear passenger door and found an infant boy limp. Another child was in the back seat, strapped in. By then, volunteers with the Terrell Fire Department showed up, took over CPR, and gave the little girl oxygen.
It was God's blessing. God put me there at the right time, and I can't thank God enough.
All of the children are in good health. God bless our Good Samaritans. You all made the Dean's List. Janice Dean, Fox News.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel over a mile, carrying a world of trouble. It can land, ignite, and destroy your home and community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens before it does. With simple things like clearing areas around buildings, knowing community safe zones, and being prepared for wildfires, you could keep this from turning into this. Your home is better protected from wildfire when your whole community is prepared. Visit fireadapted.org for more tips on how to get started adapting your home and community to wildfires. A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.